Hello, dear friends. If you don't know me yet, my name is Sasha Chaldaryan, and I am a professional photographer and retoucher. Today, we will talk about the Retouch for Me Frequency Separation plugin from Oleg Sharonov. We will use this picture to showcase the workflow. First, I will duplicate it because the plugin uses the layer that you are currently on, and I will apply Frequency Separation. This is what the plugin looks like. Let me reset all the settings so I can open it with the default settings as if we were launching it for the first time. And now let's take a look at the interface. We're not interested in all of this on the left-hand side. Those are masks, tool, and other options. All that is available in Photoshop, and we're not going to apply any of those tools today. We are going to talk about the stuff on the right. Let's start from the top. Make layers. If this box is not checked, the changes that you make will be saved on the layer that you are on, and there will be no separation into layers in Photoshop. However, if the Make Layers box is checked, Photoshop will keep 3 layers, 1 layer for each of the 3 bands, each with different frequency ranges. We are going to check this box. The next section has bilateral and threshold checkboxes. When unchecked, it gives an effect similar to a Gaussian blur. And when checked, it gives an effect similar to a surface blur. For now, though, we are going to ignore this option because the algorithm is too complicated and checking this box may freeze the operating system or slow it down. So for now, let's leave the bilateral box unchecked and wait for the software update that will address this issue. In the meantime, the plugins is still extremely useful even without this feature. The rest is applied using a similar principle. So right now, it is not that important to us which blur method is used. Here's the section that is important to us, especially this block that may seem intimidating to some of you. There are 3 bands, and each one of them represents a specific frequency range. The left band is for low frequency range, the middle one is for medium, and the right one is for high frequency range. At the bottom, you can see these 2 dots that can be dragged left and right. This is to adjust the radius of the blur for the high and low frequencies, and the same for the medium range frequency. This plugin is very helpful in my opinion because it allows us to see instantly and in real time how adjusting the radius affects the image. In order to see this, we use these 2 buttons here, Mute and Solo. These buttons work for each of the 3 frequency ranges. This is how I do it. I press Mute for the medium range, and the plugin only shows me the low and high frequencies. I can pick a radius and see the result right away. For example, with these settings, I can see the vast amount of information gets into medium frequency pool. Later in Photoshop, after applying the filter, I can turn the medium frequency off and the image will look like this. But I don't have to apply this to the entire image. I can apply it to a certain mask. We will talk about it a little later. While I have medium frequencies excluded from the image, I can play with radiuses for the low and high frequencies. I am going to move this slider slightly to the left to include larger spots into the medium range. The large spots are on the left and the small spots are on the right. The overall depth and dimension is on the left, and all the data for the small textures is on the right. With these radiuses and at these settings, I get a pretty smooth skin and a spotless light and shadow pattern. However, the skin turns out a bit too blurred and lacks texture because not so much data is left the right band where the high frequency is. I need to include more information in the high frequency range, so I drag the slider with this dot more to the left. I am looking at the skin and trying to adjust the radius to make the skin look both smooth in terms of low frequency and with enough texture in terms of high frequency. A few more thoughts about the Mute and Solo checkboxes. Mute will suppress the band. Solo will show the selected band only. So this information got into the medium frequency layer that I will later work with in Photoshop and, for example, mask it out. What else can we do in this section? Besides these dots, we have dots over here at the top. Those allow us to adjust the contrast in each frequency band. For example, I can suppress the contrast of the medium frequency, which would be the same if I just turned it off. or I can increase the contrast of any frequency range. If I increase the contrast of the high frequency, the image will become sharper. If instead I decrease it, this frequency range will disappear. The option to increase or decrease the contrast will only be available if the Make Layers box is unchecked. And the same will happen for this lower section that is for the saturation of frequencies. Let's say I increase contrast of the lower frequencies. In this case, the saturation will increase as well. And this slider here will allow me to take the oversaturation down when increasing the contrast. However, all these adjusters only work if we don't break it into layers and want to save the result on one layer. We don't need that, so I won't touch any of these contrasts. I will just find the right radiuses, what I have done already, so that in low frequency both larger spots and light and shadow pattern look smooth, and in high frequency the skin has enough texture and doesn't look blurred and plastic. I already checked the Make Layers box. Now I will hit Apply button and will get our image the 3-layer format. Then I will select medium frequency and mask it. After that, I will select a regular black brush and will paint the medium frequency information out from certain areas on that mask. Here's how I take it down. This is a pretty standard process of suppression of medium frequency layer, nothing special. The main idea is that the plugin is really helpful when we are picking the right radiuses that allow us to keep the natural look of the skin, make pigment spots go away, and light and shadow pattern be smooth and nice looking. Here's the before, and here's the after. The skin looks natural and smooth, while all visible imperfections and unevenness disappear. I recommend using this plugin. It is absolutely free. This tool is simple but powerful, allowing you to do one very important thing when using frequency separation: to define the right radius on the fly. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching and good luck. Bye-bye.